What, we're recording?
Well, yeah, but I can edit all this out.
Don't though, it's cute. Didn't shave, so it's gonna tickle and scratch and everything. Hi everybody, welcome to our channel.
Okay. Okay, so that's the camera. You gotta look that way.
You look at them this the whole time?
You have to look at that camera.
Well, I want to look at you.
Don't.
I can't look at you? What do you mean don't?
Okay.
No. I'm gonna look at you. That should be.
Okay, so we don't have a title for this, but...
Oh, you're gonna use this? You're not gonna edit this out later?
I don't know.
Right, hi everybody. We're live. Kind of.
Hi everybody.
No, we're not live. We decided that already. We figured out we're not live. But we are alive. So, if you want to. Hey everybody, we're back.
Nick and Shari here. We're so excited you could join us today on our very first episode of Film-Worthy Tales of Scripture. The very first tale that we have up for you today is untitled. It is about a bear that mauls 42 children.
Two bears.
Oh, two bears. There's two bears that maul 42 children.
Twice the power, twice the fun, I don't know.
And for some reason, Scripture says female, like specifically female. I just want to point that out.
You don't mess with the girls, because then you fight like the Philistines for 500 years or more.
Were there females in
female Philistines? They had to be. Otherwise, they wouldn't be Philistines. At some point. I don't know. We assume a lot about the Bible, like the fact that Philistines had women.
Okay, so we're going to dive right into 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 23 through 25. By the way, for whatever reason, the majority of these crazy stories are actually going to come out of the 1st and 2nd Kings books in the Bible. They have some of the most wild stories, like people falling out of windows and breaking their neck, and 42 people getting eaten by bears. Elisha was walking through the middle of nowhere, kind of, on his way to Bethel. And some small boys, according to Scripture, come out of the city and start to harass him. And they call him names. They're basically bullies. They go, "Go, Baldy, go, Baldy, go up there, Baldy." And they're just making fun of him and picking on him. It's like old Scripture Testament bullies. So Elisha turns around, looks at them, curses them in the name of the Lord, and then all of a sudden 2 female bears come running out of the woods and charge and maul 42 children. The actual Scripture says that literally, then 2 female bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the children. Wow, that's kind of graphic, right? So 3 questions come in. Nobody knows the question.
42 is the answer to the most important question in the world. By the time they figured out the answer, they forgot what the question was.
I think it's this one.
That's
How many kids died this day?
It doesn't say they died. It says they got mauled, which means they were ripped to pieces, technically. I mean,
so some like kids were straggling through. It's like
they might have been alive still. Just they have to crawl.
What's the name of that TV show with the dead people?
Cool Runnings.
Okay. Number 1. What's the backstory here? Why was Elisha there exactly? What brought him to this place? Because that matters. How we got to some of the occurrences in our lives matters. Like, we don't just make decisions for no reason. We make decisions based upon experiences leading up to the time that we have to make our decisions. So, why was he there? What's the backstory? Number 2, why was he so mad that he commanded not just 1, but 2 bears to come out of the woods and maul 42 children? And number 3, why children? I mean, seriously, that's pretty gruesome, right? So, Nick, now you can answer the questions.
About 42?
No.
Oh.
Why was Elisha there? What's the backstory?
Well, the backstory, as far as I'm aware, is that he was on his way to Bethel. Is it Bethel? Bethany?
Yes, Bethel.
Bethel.
Mm-hmm.
Bethlehem. Bethel.
Bethel.
I know, I'm kidding. Kind of. Anyway. And Elijah, with a J, has just been taken up to heaven right before this. And Elisha has just taken up the mantle of Elijah. And now he's the new prophet of God, taking the place of Elijah. And first thing, the mantle I thought was just like an aura, something like that, you know. But it's actually an overcoat. And this overcoat, specifically worn by prophets in this day and age, was very, very, what would you call it? Not specific, but very distinct.
Distinct, yeah, distinguished, distinct.
That's a good word. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Very distinct. And you could tell that it was symbolic of being a prophet. A prophet would wear this. So, where are we at? He's wearing this cloak, this mantle, and he's walking to Bethel. It says the boys came out of the city, which means they were not in the city, they were in the wilderness, which is where the bears were also. That's why there were bears there. But this is bigger than it seems. It's not like God's attacking two bears. Not like Elisha is just having a bad day and he gets mad and says, "Oh, I curse you guys," right? There's a big picture here, and we're going to kind of read into the text a little bit so we can tell and understand what's happening. There could be more than 42 there. Okay, it says 42 of the children were mauled, which means you can reasonably assume there's a lot more than 42, some more than 42, there's at least 42, if not more. It's also worth noting that at this time period, in this this era, I guess you can call it, of biblical history, when they talk about children or young boys or youth, that they've used those contexts in the Old Testament to describe anyone between the ages of 12 up to 20, even sometimes 30. So when it says children, they're not all kids, they're just youth. And it's also worth recognizing our society today that youth doesn't necessarily mean age, it more means maturity. In today's society, we think of youth being, okay, you turn 16, now you're old enough to get a driver's license. You turn 18, now you're old enough to smoke cigarettes and be stupid. You turn 21, you can drink. What?
I think you should call people stupid.
It's not 1940. Everyone knows you shouldn't smoke anymore. People still do it because we're emotional creatures. We're not logical. If we were logical, nobody would play the lottery. Lots of people do, though. Anyway, so it's more about a maturity scale rather than it is an actual age scale as far as your youth, as far as your young, this descriptive term they use to describe these children. They're outside the city. There's 42 of them. Elisha's by himself, and these kids go up and start harassing him. This is a gang. If you can picture a gang today, there might be 20, 30, 40 people in a gang.
Straight up LA style, New York style gangs. You know, we're not talking like
from the Bronx,
Kentucky.
Right? Kentucky? They have gangs in Kentucky?
Yeah, they have gangs in Kentucky.
Gangs of cattle. I don't know. What's chicken?
I'm sure
there's lots of chicken in Kentucky, right?
Some pretty bad gangs in Kentucky, but like compared to LA, you just...
They're chicken gangs. Like Kentucky Fried Chicken. They probably have Kentucky Grilled Chicken, too. We can assume that he's in danger here, and that's why God sends these bears to protect him. So these kids are being, young and immature. I'm not going to say they're being kids. They're being immature. And they're picking a fight, and they happen to pick a fight with someone who's on God's side, and so they lost. And some of them probably lost their lives. I'm not reading notes. I'm just reading the Bible. There's no notes in here, so.
Not sure how that's relevant.
Just letting them know I'm not perfect.
I think that's about it. I think we covered it. So number one, the backstory is Elisha was by himself after a time of being with his mentor for who knows the actual amount of extended time that he was with his mentor, but now he's suddenly by himself. He has taken the place of his mentor, so he has gone from the apprentice to the apprentor.
I mean, there's no one of them. There's not two people yet, so just the prophet.
He's now a prophet, and he is walking into a dangerous situation. Like the actual town that he was going into at the time was very into worshiping other gods, and so he was headed already into a confrontational situation. So that was already a bad place for him to be. So when these kids came out, they were a bunch of bullies. They were a gang of bullies. Elisha was in danger, and he took care of the problem.
Keep in mind, this area of Bethel was like one of the centers of idol worship. That was set up by King Jeroboam, like several years, decades, centuries before this time period. But it still existed even to this day, what we're talking about here. And the fact that the prophet Elisha is wearing the mantle, which makes him look, and he can be identified from a distance apparently, as being a prophet of God. People who are against God and they deliberately worship idols are going out there to harass him and make problems for him. Just keep in mind that that's the area we're talking about, the time frame we're talking about, and the people we're talking about. There you go.
And that's that. Crazy story, movie-worthy tale found in Scripture. Can you picture that on the news headlines? I mean, seriously, if 42 kids died from two bears mauling them, it would be all over the news headlines, children mauled to death, and then of course they would exaggerate a little bit and say like, pieces found everywhere, and PETA involved.
Pieces found everywhere.
Bear mauling, local police, local PD, local sheriff's department, everybody involved in the manhunt for these two bears. PETA involved, there would be like, put the bears down. No, don't put the bears down. Yes, kill those bears. No, you can't kill those bears. It would be just mass hysteria. Everybody would be crying. Every mom in the entire world would be crying because 42 kids had been dead. But they would be anywhere from 12 to older 20s.
When you said bear mauling, I pictured bears going to Nordstrom's or something like that.
Bear mauling? Stop it.
It's the way my brain works. But
anyways, that is all we have for you this week, friends. We will be back next week with another movie-worthy tale from Scripture. We hope that you enjoyed this. Please post your comments, questions, suggestions down below. And as always, oh, by the way, head on over to slayingdragons.com, www.slaying-dragons.com
slaying-dragons.
www.slaying-dragons.com for more information about this and in order to find resources that we used to come up with this film for you today. Thank you so much for joining us. You guys have a great and fantastic week. We love you.
Is that a species of dragon? The hyphen dragons? No, I'm thinking of Imagine Dragons.
But you know what we need to do? We need to go. Watch this. Come closer. Okay. Hey everybody, we're Chip and Joanna Gaines. We're so excited you could join us today on this brand new episode of Fixer Upper.
What?
I just wanted to do that.
Like some weird?
No, because you're so much like
and
Chip.
You're Asian? Or what are you? She's like Indian
She's
Asian,
like
right?
Japanese, I think.
Japanese? I don't know.
She's like gorgeous. I mean, that's all I know.
Well, maybe if they see our clip, they'll comment.
She's like gorgeous and
he's
has
funny.
a beautiful farmhouse. And
Oh, they say he's a beautiful husband. Like you,
I don't think her husband's beautiful, but I don't
hope not.
think it. Yeah. Okay.
This episode of Filmworthy Tales in Scripture is brought to you by Elijah's Bear Spray. Don't leave home without it. You always want to be prepared. It's Scripture tested and Jesus approved. If you're being attacked by a bear, spray this. If they're not sent by God, they'll leave.